Hi all, welcome to this one where we'll be building the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, including the stairways down. It's going to be a playable area, it's going to be quite a big area. I'm currently just reading through the magazine that's got some instructions on how to make it. I'm going to follow it pretty closely. I think I quite like the way it looks and plays in the magazine. So yeah, let's get going with the planning and cutting of the main framework. If you watched any of my other builds, like the Barling's Tomb project, you'll know I usually go into a lot of detail. That approach looks great in the end, but it also takes a lot of time. For this build, I wanted to focus on whether we could make a quick board that still looks great and plays really well. So, I'll be keeping the details to only what I think is necessary to hit that goal. I started with a large piece of polystyrene and marked out an area roughly 3 feet long and around 20 inches wide. Referring to the magazine, each step up the stairs is 5 centimeters high, with a total of 5 levels. I marked this out roughly, drew an arch in the middle which would later be cut out to create the gap the fellowship must jump over. The side stairs were marked in the same way, with the triangular section showing where the steps would be cut. I used a combination of a knife and a hot wire cutter to shape the foam. And while this material is inexpensive, it's also very messy, so a quick clean-up was needed before moving on to the bridge, which I simply cut from a piece of thick XPS foam. Okay, so that's all the pieces now cut for the board. I also modelled this up and this has been printing while I've been doing that. So let's have a look where we're at. You can see we've got the staircase. I created this quick support. What I think I'm going to do is put some more holes into these and leading down to the bridge. While we were looking around the board, it became a bit obvious that those paths were a bit small. The book did say 2 centimeters and I did make it 2.5, but it was clearly too thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another piece the same width. Let me show you what I mean. So if we look at this piece, what I've done is I've created another matching piece and I've given it a little bevel, and that's going to sit just there like that. I used the existing piece as the template to mark the shape, then cut and added a small bevel so the staircase would now be wide enough. With all the pieces ready, I grabbed some PVA glue and began attaching everything together. At this point, I also carved a few extra arches into the back piece to add some visual interest. To secure the stairs to the base, I used a few cocktail sticks for extra strength before the glue set. Well, it's been 24 hours and the glue is now set on the board. I've carved in a few steps on it and now we're going to move on to painting. I'm going to try something new in this one. I'm going to mix PVA with water, sand and some dark grey paint. I'm going to give that a coat all over and see if that can help us do an undercoat, a seal and a texture all in one go. Let's get started. For the texture mix, I had no exact measurements in mind. I simply kept adding sand and glue until the mixture felt right. Enough sand to leave good coverage and enough glue to bind it firmly in place. The key was mixing it thoroughly. Once it was ready, I applied it all over the terrain piece and set it aside to dry. The main base is now off drying. I've checked it about 12 hours later and it's still wet, so I'm just going to leave that and we're going to pick up with painting some of these pillars. Got 6 in total. I've given them an undercoat of grey primer already and I'm just going to do a black wash on them now and then we'll dry brush to highlight them up. I made a simple wash by thinning black acrylic paint with water and applying it over the columns. Constantly dipping my brush back into the pot started to get very annoying, so I thought why not just pour it all over my work surface and pick it up from there. Once the wash had dried, I did a quick dry brush with a light grey to bring out the details. So we've got all the pillars are now completed and ready, and the board is dry enough now to do another coat. So I'm just going to do a whole coat of grey, hopefully balance out that colour, and then we'll do a dry brush on the terrain. The homemade texture paste had worked really well. The sand had adhered really nicely, although you can still see a bit of the polystyrene underneath. If I was going for a diorama level detail, I'd add another coat, but since the goal here is a quick, playable piece of terrain, this looks perfectly fine as is. It just needs that next layer of grey paint. Well, the paint's nice and dry now. We're going to get on with the dry brushing stage. As you can see, the pillars have also been done, so I think we've just got to do the dry brushing and then some finer details, and the board is actually ready to play. Let's get going. To dry brush, I take a big, soft makeup brush and apply some light grey paint. This is worked into the bristles and then most of the paint is removed. That gets worked over the terrain and some of the paint hits the high spots from the sand texture, leaving a nice highlight and adding detail to the terrain. Well, it's done and it's looking great. I'm going to start getting some minis on it now so we can actually play a game. Let's have a look what it looks like with the Balrog walking through, and we can set up that famous scene of Gandalf and the Balrog on the bridge. Let's go.
Nobody tosses a dwarf! The Balrog, the demon of the ancient world. His foe is beyond any of. Run! Do as I say! Swords are no more use here. You shall not pass! I am servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun! Fly, you fools!